Dear Dr. Sharice, my opportunity to take a lot of the questions that you all try to slip in my DMs and do something constructive.
Dear Dr. Sharice, are y'all ready for this?
The goal is for us to have honest, courageous conversations, pretty much with no topic off the table.
Let's go.
Great question this week. It comes from Amy C., who is a listener from North Carolina. Her question is, when gaslighting or love bombing happens to you, is there anything you're doing to be a target, or is it 100% the other person? Let me say first, I feel like I always have something to say first. They're two completely different things. And although both are forms of psychological or emotional abuse, I really want you to understand that they need to be in separate pockets. So I'm actually going to make the answer to this question a 2-part podcast. But on here, let's talk about gaslighting. What is it? Gaslighting, 2 definitions. One is psychological, that didn't sound right. Psychological manipulation of a person, usually over an extended period of time, that causes the victim to question the validity of their thoughts, their perception of reality, or their memories. What's important to recognize is gaslighting isn't always something that you can immediately see. It is often subtle, happens over time. Usually someone comes into your life at a time where you may be vulnerable. So while there's nothing that you can do or nothing that causes you to be a target, you don't deserve to be a target in any way, we can have unmet needs and we can have vulnerabilities that kind of open us up to overlook the people or the organizations that are gaslighting us. And as a result of those unmet needs, those starved needs, or a few other dynamics that I'll get to shortly, then that may put us in a situation where we don't recognize that we're being gaslit until we're well down the line and really feeling the consequences. When you are a victim of gaslighting, you will often feel confused, a loss of confidence and self-esteem. You will feel uncertain around your own emotional or mental stability because often the person or the organization that you're connected to will make you feel like you can't trust yourself, because part of gaslighting means minimize what you think, minimize your needs, and don't allow your truth to be truth. They also, this is a key one, want you to be dependent on them. Another really simple definition of gaslighting is the act or practice of grossly misleading someone, especially for personal advantage. And I think what you have to recognize is when we recognize gaslighting later down the road, we think, oh my goodness, it's so blatant, and how could I not see it? Because you can't see it until you can. And when you're in the middle of it, it's extremely confusing. One of the things that I want you to keep in mind is that gaslighting doesn't just happen in relationships in terms of like a one-on-one relationship with a partner or someone that you care about intimately. Gaslighting can also occur within family systems. It can also occur in organizations that lead you into believing they're one way, and then over time you have these mixed experiences with them. So some moments are really great and really wonderful, but then there's always just a little something that's kind of repeatedly keeping you in line. Here are some things that I want you to consider. One, if you're in a situation and you think, is gaslighting intentional? Yes, it may be, and sometimes it's not. Let me explain. While it's true that some abuse is perpetrated with the intention to cause harm, and there are individuals who are very aware of their tactics, we'll call it that, there's also some groups of individuals who gaslight other individuals and don't recognize fully what they're doing. Now, they're aware that what they're doing is hurtful and harmful, but they're also motivated by fear or this desire not to lose you. They're afraid that you're going to abandon them. They may have grown up in a home where somebody gaslit them. So some of the tactics that they've used on you, things like, you're wrong, you're crazy, that's not how I remember it, or pulling up parts of your past and using them on you. Or another example would be trying to make you feel like what you think is too much could have been done to them. That doesn't make it right in any way, shape, or form, but it's understanding that it can be a generational pattern that you didn't recognize, because a lot of times individuals who are kind of covert gaslighters have a way of hooking you in first, building connection, being what you want them to be until they're not. And as long as you do what they want, people who gaslight you are completely fine. When you start kind of bucking back or recognizing that this isn't the way that you want to live anymore, then things become a challenge. So it can be intentional. And then there are moments where people are repeating really awful patterns that they've learned along the way. But either way, it's important for you to recognize when you or someone that you love is in this situation and help them get out, because it's very difficult. One of the biggest age groups that I often have this conversation around is actually young adults. We aren't having these conversations with our young adults. And part of that is many of us as adults don't recognize it ourselves, and we still might be working to get out of it. So, this is information that I also really encourage you to share with the people that you love and care about. How do you know you're being gaslighted? So, I gave you a couple of examples in terms of just everyday language that you may hear or that you might have experienced or even know somebody experiencing. Other things that you may recognize or have experienced in the past would be degrading statements, blaming accusations, someone withholding information from you, and particularly withholding information that they know you need this information to be successful, so they only tell you part of it and may leave out parts of that. Part of what they're doing when they're withholding that information is they want you to be dependent upon them. So we often see in the world of psychology and therapy a lot of gaslighting go on when couples are not only together, but also when couples decide to split and separate. It can be very difficult to co-parent with somebody who is engaging in these kind of tactics. They also love to rewrite history. So when you challenge them with the truth, they become indignant. Like, they are so upset when you tell them that they're lying. Even if they actually are, it infuriates them, because for people who are gaslighters, it is all about maintaining their sense of reality and not yours. And one of the biggest ways that you know that you might be gaslit is discounting your feelings and concern. Now, I want to make it clear that just because you're in a relationship and you are connected to someone or an organization that doesn't prioritize what you feel or your concerns doesn't automatically equate to gaslighting. But if you recognize that this is one of many tactics that continues to happen over and over, and you keep giving more and more chances for things to get better and they're not, then that might be a situation where there is some gaslighting going on. And keep in mind, people who operate from this tactic are kind of great. In many ways, they're loving, they're charismatic. Now, that love is on their terms. And that charisma is for a reason and for them to manipulate things to a certain advantage. But that's what makes it so confusing. So here are a few strategies of self-protection. One, gather evidence. And simply what I mean is Make sure that you are clear on the things that you know are true. So, anytime that you're in connection, especially if you know someone gaslights you, with them, and you can do that via email. Text is a balance because it can turn a little abusive, but you want to find ways to be able to go back and refer to the evidence that you've gathered so that you can say to yourself, I know I heard that right, and I'm looking at it right here. And potentially, if it's a very toxic situation, you may even need to record conversations, which is going to be very helpful for you later in a lot of ways. The other thing that you want to do, and this is even if you live with someone who's gaslighting you, is find ways to create space. Find individuals in your life that are part of your support, which is going to be another one down the line in terms of a strategy of self-protection. But you want to have places that you know you can go, whether that's personally or professionally, just to kind of pull yourself out of the moment, out of the situation. Because people who gaslight also view it as fuel, and that can become really toxic and add to your own level of anxiety and stress. 3, hold on to what you know is true, especially what you know is true about yourself. Because one of the primary tactics of gaslighting, in terms of the degrading statements and the blaming and the accusations, is to tear you down to the point that you feel like, I can't leave this person, I can't leave this organization because I'm not enough without them. You are. You were enough when they met you. You are enough even if you decide to leave. There may be some repair. There may be some healing that needs to take place, but you really want to hold on to what you know is true about your character, about your integrity, about the way you love, the way you parent, the way you do life, whatever the situation may be. Hold on to that. 4, stay connected. Gaslighters love to isolate you from other people who will call them out. They will often put you in situations that make you feel like all of your time only needs to be spent around them, and really love isolating you and making you feel like, oh, you're not doing a great job unless you're always with them or always with your organization. And then focus on self-care. When you're feeling overwhelmed, when you're feeling run down, frustrated, when you feel like you've lost yourself, it's difficult to show care for yourself. And I'm not just talking about going and buying yourself something, doing things that genuinely show a sense of compassion for you. So, what if you or someone that you know is being gaslit? First, going back to my earlier point, it is a significant form of psychological and emotional abuse, which can tear you down and be very damaging to you, your children, your coworkers, whoever may be involved. So, it is something that we want to take seriously. If you know someone that's in this situation, offer them non judgmental support. They really don't need your advice unless they ask for it. It's very easy for someone that's not in a situation where they're being gaslit to give advice about what to do, but it's not always black or white. So be there for them in the way that they need it, because they just need to be able to share their experiences and share their truth, and let them decide how much they want to share, and you just hold space for them. Recognize when gaslighting is having a significant impact on you. Is it pouring over into your personal life, into the ways you think about yourself? Is it pouring over into your eating habits and even your physical health? You may see things like anxiety. Your weight may be inconsistent because your appetite is increased or decreased, depending upon whether you restrict or binge during stress. You may notice physical signs like low heart rate or rapid heartbeat, or your hair falling out. There can be a number of different signs, but I want you to pay attention to them and pay attention to these things in the people that you love. Most importantly, if you're in a situation where this is happening on a consistent basis, I would encourage you to seek counseling. It is very difficult to navigate through the land of gaslighting on your own, but a well-qualified counselor or therapist can walk you through each dynamic, not pushing you, not giving you advice, but just helping you to hold on to yourself. So there's a lot in today, but that's intentional. I really want to encourage you to share this with someone that might be in a situation like I'm describing. If you feel comfortable doing that and they can receive it, log it, tuck it away as a resource. But particularly if you have 13 and plus, yes, 13 and plus age individuals who are dating or in relationships, please give them these tools, because we constantly find that so many young people have no idea what they're in until later. I always enjoy my time with you. And if you enjoy this time as well, feel free to come join me on Cadre every Wednesday morning at 7 a.m. EST. We go live and have great conversations such as this and more. Grab your coffee and your beverage of choice. I'll be there and hope to see you there as well. As always, remember that knowledge is not power without application. So take something from here and make sure you walk it out in every area of life. See you soon.